The senator from Kansas.
Mr. President, thank you. The bill that we are debating, the so-called continuing resolution, spends slightly more than $1 trillion between now and the end of the fiscal year. And as those who were either on the floor or watching a few moments ago discovered, the opportunity to amend this bill in even a minor fashion, though in my view an important fashion, was denied. So the United States Senate, in passing the CR, will spend more than $1 trillion, and we've had the opportunity to vote on 2 amendments, potentially 3. That's the total extent of which 100 senators representing millions of Americans have had the chance to influence the outcome, the content of a significant bill that spends lots of money. The amendment that I've been trying to offer, Mr. President, in my view, is an important one. One of the things that the administration announced following sequestration was that the control tower program, which provides about 179 air traffic control towers across the country, would be eliminated. That's certainly of importance to those who fly. It's important to people in our state's rural America, but this is not just a rural issue. These control towers are located in large cities across our country. I've been trying to fashion why would the Department of Transportation, in a sense, single out this program? Hard for me to fathom a good answer to that question, and as close as I can come is there are those in Washington, D.C. who want to demonstrate that we can't cut a dime. We can't cut $85 billion from federal spending, a $3.6 trillion spending program. We can't eliminate 28 days of spending at all. And to prove that point, they apparently want to single out programs that are the most important to Americans. The idea that we would put at risk an air traffic control tower program that is so important to the flying and traveling public is amazing to me. And again, it's not that I think that the sequestration and the 5% cut in this program could not be handled by the Department of Transportation, but that's not what the Department of Transportation is doing. In fact, the amendment that I hope to offer continues the sequestration, reduces the program spending by 5%. But what the Department of Transportation is doing is eliminating the program, reducing the spending in this program by 75%. And again, I can't figure out why this program of such importance would be treated in this fashion unless there are those who simply want to demonstrate that anytime we try to reduce spending, and it's actually not even reducing spending, the sequestration reduces the increase in spending. The only thing I can think of is there are those people who want to demonstrate here that we cannot do that without having huge consequences to the safety and security of Americans. And in my view, that concept certainly is false. We can find savings, but beyond that, it's a dangerous game to play in trying to prove a point that we can't cut spending by putting at risk those who utilize air traffic control towers. And my frustration is increased by the fact that while we're spending all this money and the bill comes to the floor, I serve on the Appropriations Committee. I ought to have the opportunity to deal with this bill in the committee that I serve on. That hasn't happened. And so I think, what's my next opportunity, since I didn't have it as a member of the Senate Appropriations Committee? Maybe I ought to find colleagues from across the aisle, from around the country, rural, urban, Republican, Democrat, who would understand the value of this program. So I did that. We found 23 sponsors of a bill, I think, of this amendment. And I think we could probably find more. But the point I want to make this evening is that 13 of those 23 are Democrat sponsors. This place ought to function in a way. We've been told, why can't we work together? Why can't we find bipartisan ways of working together? 23 senators, 10 Republicans, 13 Democrats come together and say, this is a good amendment that needs to pass, and yet I have no opportunity to offer that amendment. I've had numerous members of the Senate from both sides of the aisle, but especially Democrat senators, visit with me tonight on the Senate floor saying, Moran, why can't you get this amendment made in order? It's a good amendment. I don't have a good answer for that question. We've worked hard with the chairperson and the ranking Republican on the committee. We've worked across the aisle. We've worked with the leadership trying to make clear how important this amendment is, and yet we're going to spend more than $1 trillion. And one amendment that transfers $50 million from two accounts, from unencumbered balances and from research funds to keep the air traffic control program alive and well, is not in order. And again, a member of the Appropriations Committee, my hope was that I could try to solve this problem in the normal appropriations process. We've talked about this tonight. The Majority Leader talked about getting back to the regular order and working appropriation bills. And presumably sometime this week, although as a result of this amendment not being made in order, it's going to be later in the week than expected, but sometime this week we'll get to the budget, and presumably we'll pass a budget, we'll go through the appropriation process. But here's the problem. I, as a member of the Appropriations Committee, and my colleagues who care about this program, who serve on the committee, who serve in the Senate, will have no opportunity to save this program, because the Department of Transportation, the United States Department of Transportation, is going to terminate this program on April the 7th. By the time we ever get to regular order, if and when we do, the program will be eliminated, and we will have lost the only opportunity, which is now on this continuing resolution, to make certain that this program remains in place. And so if we do what we ought to do around here, if we come together and find a solution, we reach bipartisan agreement, we ought to have the opportunity to address $50 million out of a more than $1 trillion bill. And the idea that we would pass a $1 trillion appropriation bill with only allowing 2, maybe 3 amendments is something that again suggests that we've not got our order in the appropriate place. This is certainly important to folks across the country, and it is something that deserves attention. It's something that deserves a vote, and it's something that the American public ought to insist that we not play the game of whether or not we can cut anything and put their safety at risk. So, Mr. President, my plea to my colleagues tonight, they have voted to advance this bill, cloture has been granted, which means that no amendments are in order. I would ask our colleagues to realize the importance of this amendment and potentially others that other members of the United States Senate want to offer in order to improve and establish our priorities. And as the Majority Leader said, to demonstrate that we can govern. The Majority Leader talked tonight about proving to the American people that we can govern by passing this bill. It seems to me that governing is something more than just passing a continuing resolution without the opportunity for members of the United States Senate to put their imprint on behalf of their constituents, on my case on behalf of Kansans, but really on behalf of the American people. The air transportation system is essential to local communities. It's vital to our economic engine. It matters across the country. And this amendment, if I'm allowed to offer it, would continue access to that system that has worked so well for so many communities across our country. My plea is that between now and when the 30 hours runs on the post-cloture debate of this bill, that there are those in the Senate who will work with me and others to see that the amendment process works, and that we return to the days in which a senator has the ability to influence the outcome of important pieces of legislation. I thank the President